Hi guys, welcome back to the Forgetful Scholar, and let's talk about some books, shall we? They're doing construction outside, and this is kind of the only time I had to film this week, so hopefully you can't hear that. I'm really hoping you can't hear that. So this week, oh, it's so loud. Okay. All right. So the first book of this week is Arsenic and Old Lies, a Dr. Maxwell Thornton murder mystery number 3 by S.C. Wynne. There you go. Very cool cover, right? They always, really honestly, always have interesting covers in the series. This one's a 2-star. I know. I've been really loving the S.C. Wynne series lately and all their books as an author. You know, the Dr. Maxwell Thornton series I've really been liking, but this time it just didn't hit for me. And that's okay. You know, you don't have to like everything an author you like writes. I mean, I have over, like, you can't see it, but above me I have over like 40 books of Johanna Lindsey's, and I could think, like, it'll take me a second to pick a book that I despise from her. When Passion Rules. There you go. Right off the top of my head. Don't like that book. You know what I mean? But I still enjoy her stories. So this one continues directly after the second one. When a person literally drops dead in front of them in a Chinese food restaurant. So that's the murder mystery. A new holistic doctor comes into town, and that's supposed to be a conflict. I'll get into that in a second. And then there was a big fight between Royce and Maxwell. And I have said before, fights in romance novels can be really tricky. Because sometimes, you know, they hit the perfect spot, but sometimes they're too little or too extreme, and you don't think, you're like, oh, how could you forgive that? That was too much. And I think this one is a low star for me just because C.S. Wynne has the ability to create plot lines seem as, like, flawlessly. You know, I really enjoyed the plot lines, and they seem flawless. And this time I felt like there were a lot of hiccups in the road. And oh my gosh, that is so loud. Oh, okay. What do I mean by that? Okay. Let's start with the murder mystery. Fantastic murder mystery up until a point. The ending was not satisfying. I'm sorry, for me, it just wasn't satisfying. I didn't particularly like the ending at all. The holistic doctor that comes into town that creates tension. And I understand that's supposed to be, like, for Maxwell, you know, professional tension and things like that. And I didn't find it a conflict. And this could be, and Rainydale does take place in Texas. And why I didn't think this was a conflict, because I've worked a lot of jobs in medical providers' back office, you know, dealing with insurances and things like that. So for my state, I deal with a lot of insurances. And America doesn't have United States does not have universal healthcare. So every state has different plans. Ones run by the state and ones that are private. Now, for my state, and I can only talk about my state for right now, could change. The only really holistic items, holistic avenue that a lot of the insurance companies offer is acupuncture. They don't cover holistic doctors, at least not as of making this video and stuff like that. Could change, who knows. So I know I was supposed to feel like, oh no, they're going to take Max's job. And through Max's POV, you feel bad for him. He's a sweet bean. He's just socially anxious and doesn't know how to talk to people. So you feel bad that he's like, this new doctor so charming and people like him and stuff like that. And I wasn't worried because I'm like, sweetie, holistic doctors paying out of pocket, that's going to be a lot of money. And Rainydale so far has come off as a middle class, sweet little town, not filled with millionaires. And as soon as, like, and a lot of retirees. So as soon as, like, mom and pa go there and, you know, state their curiosity or whatever, they're not going to go back. They'll have to pay out of pocket the whole way. There's no way they're going to go back. So I didn't feel that kind of tension. Again, that's because, you know, my real life experience kind of contradicted what the author was trying to do. Which is fine. The argument... Okay, so the argument itself, after it got started, I think was handled pretty well. and we have Royce's POV, and we have Maxwell's POV. So we get both sides of the argument, and I feel it was well balanced. The argument did make me feel a little uncomfortable, because it seemed that the majority of it was Maxwell had changed his personality. And it's one thing if Maxwell wants to change his personality. It's another thing when Royce is like, well, you have to change your personality. It's like, whoa, no, he don't. If he doesn't want to, he doesn't. Wait a minute. And up until this, the other books, Royce was really supportive of Max, and he only wanted him to get better bedside manner because he thinks Max is wonderful and he wants people of Rainydale to feel the same. So it wasn't and Max wanted to be better at bedside manner because he cares about his patients. So that was one thing. But this argument seemed to come out of nowhere, and it really didn't build very well. And again, this author is so good at building points throughout the story that since this didn't feel as smooth, that's why I didn't particularly like it. So the author is so good previously that it made me not particularly enjoy the story because it wasn't up to what I'm used to this author. And that's fine. So the argument came out of nowhere. I felt it was choppy, and it kind of devolved really quick or exploded really quickly into other things, which happens sometimes in real life. So that was whatever. And usually in the series, the end of the book, there is immediate lead into the next book and the next murder mystery, which I always found kind of cheeky, kind of quirky, kind of fun. I'm here for it. I enjoy it. This one, the previous murder investigation, I didn't find the ending very satisfying. And this, the romantic storyline tension continued onward. So not only did that not have a satisfying closure, it's more like, well, now you have to buy the next book to find out what happens. And I'm like, okay, all right. That I didn't particularly like. Because I'm going to buy the next book because I'm curious. Obviously, I'm in book 3. Of course, I'm going to go to book 4. So I'm curious. I like Maxwell and Royce's couple. I hope they stay together and things like that. But this just felt a little too heavy-handed. In like, well, now you have to get the next book. I'm like, all right, calm down. You know, I'm very contrary. That makes me not want to do it. You know, so there's that. And there was no ending for the love line conflict. So yeah, 2 stars for me. That sucks, you know, and I am going to read the next book. I'm not sure if I'm going to read it next week because it really kind of put me off. And this book kind of put me into a reading slump. I think that's what it's called. I didn't want to read any other books for the week, things like that. But I kind of forced myself because, well, and I'm happy I did. This channel definitely has been good for me in that sense. Because of that, and because this was a really bad pain week for me. It's not having a good week, honeys. I was not. So I decided to read 2 comfort books. Deal with it. That's just what I did. Okay? So the first one is by J.L. Langley, My Regency Rank. And I don't know if I could show this cover. Here, because, like, man nipples. I don't know. Here you go. Beautiful cover. Cover up those man nips. Okay. So this is the 3rd book in the Sci-Rengency series. And this series, I've talked about before, it's a unique mixture of sci-fi and Regency era. So you have high-tech, like space travel, but other planets kind of stick to the Regency era socially, like social etiquette and things like that. Except on this planet, where this takes place, they followed more the Spartan way. So all the ton are MM. That's just the way it is. So this has to do with the 3rd son, Colton, and the head of the guard, Sebastian. And Sebastian is known as a rank. He is a widower, and he's known as a rank. And Colton has been in love with him forever. So when Colton becomes of age, he chases after Sebastian. And I don't know, I guess I was just kind of in the mood for that, you know? I found it really sweet. And this series has an overarching plot line. So it continued that mystery in a really good pace. I really enjoyed that. A lot more clues from to help, you know, to build up from the 1st and 2nd book. The 2 main characters, I really adore them. Colton and Sebastian. And it wasn't like the typical the younger man MM pairing where, you know, Colton knows how to be, even though Colton's young, he knows how to be a daddy when he wants to be. Let me just say that, okay? I'm just putting it out there. The love scenes, very spicy, very fun. Uh, the romance, I always love these two. It's a 5 stars for me. It's one of my 5 stars. I always love these two. And the ending was just the romance line ending was fantastic. It always is. So this made me happy. It helped me kind of get out of the reading slump the other book put me in. And then the third book, another comfort book, is Johanna Lindsey, The Magic of You. You can see how beat up this book is. Like, I've had this for a long time. Okay, and then we have like a little bit of this. Look at that Fabio on the cover. Hello, what's up? Okay, so this is the 4th in the Malory storyline for Johanna Lindsey. I talked about one of the Mallorys last week. So this follows Amy, which is Anthony's niece, and it follows Warren, which is another character's older brother, character that marries into the family, her older brother. So in the Mallory family, the family's kind of split. Half of them have blonde hair, green eyes, and the other half of them have black hair and cobalt eyes. And that's supposed to be from their Romani ancestry that they're very hush-hush about. Amy is just started her season, is going to start her season, and that sucks to find herself a husband. But she don't want that. She knew from the moment she saw Warren that that was her soulmate. That was it. And the thing about Amy is that her instincts are always right. So in the family, it's kind of known, especially after the story, if you place a bet with Amy. So like, say Amy's like, hey, I bet you this frog is going to land in that guy's hat. And someone in the family is like, okay, I'll take that bet. No way. The frog ends up in that. So whenever she places a bet, it always comes true. That's the way it is. Now Warren, and again, she chases after Warren because Warren is very distrustful. He's a very angry, bitter man. And the thing is, the reasons why he's very bitter and angry, I'm like, yeah, no, that is a horrible thing to experience. And like, your distrust is valid. Because it's pretty bad. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't, like, if I was him, I wouldn't trust women either after that. That's pretty messed up. It's pretty messed up. It is. So basically, Amy is chasing after him. And her uncles, her 2 younger uncles, who are older than her, but younger than, she has a lot of uncles. James and Anthony. Anthony and James by this point are both married, so they're reformed ranks. And they're like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm going to be a female rank. How about that? She doesn't mean it, but she's chasing after Warren, and they're all like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? And she's like, no, this is the man for me. Long story short, there's a kidnapping. They are kidnapped together. There's a bunch of misunderstandings happen, of course. The third act conflict happens pretty much in the beginning of the third act, so there's kind of, it lulls a little bit at the end. A little bit, but I just love this couple so much, and I love the romantic ending so much. This is a 5 stars for me. It's a definite comfort book. I always revisit it when I'm feeling a little down or reading a slump, and I'm really happy I did. 5 stars. I adore it. And I love when Amy shows up in later Mallory stories too, because she's just a hoot. And the thing about this is that she's one of one of my top favorite. I think one of my favorite females in romance genre. It's just because she's young, but she's smart. She's pig-headed. She's still sweet. She has these instincts that are like magical, but it's not like, oh, I'm a magical fairy. No, it's just like, I got a feeling about this and I'm right. And top it all off, she's funny. I found it really funny. I really liked her friendship with her older cousins, Derek and Jeremy, quite a bit. And it's just, I thought she was a hoot. I always think she's a hoot. She always makes me kind of like, oh, Amy, I can't believe you're doing that. I'm almost embarrassed for you. You were so brave. You go. I hope you get him. And the romance scenes are pretty spicy. So after that, I didn't feel like I was in a reading slump quite so much anymore. I was happy with my cozy revisits. And then I went to, I'm not going to pronounce this right. I apologize beforehand. Not that I ever pronounce anything right on this channel. So, Wilderson's Wyborn and Griffin novel by Jordan L. Hawk. Now, this cover is so freaking cool, right? I mean, I can't be the only one that thinks these covers are awesome. This is a historical MM. Takes place, Regency Victorian area, Edwardian, that kind of era. So, Wyborn works at the museum, and he can read over 13 languages. No, he can write in over 13 languages, and he could read more. So, he's very smart. And he's very awkward. He's very socially awkward. He stutters. He doesn't like people paying attention to him. And he is gay, but he never did anything about it because, well, time period. Also, his best friend, who he was in love with when they were kids, teenagers, died, and he blames himself. So there's some deep kind of stuff going on. Griffin is an ex-Pinkerton, and he's a private detective, and he's been hired to solve a mystery of one of the founders of the museum's son. I did not realize that this is what I've been looking for, that this is what I've been missing the last couple of books that had like archaeology sprinkled in, but not quite, things like that. This was great. You're in Wyborn's POV for the whole thing. He has a best friend, Christine, Dr. Putnam, and she's feisty and amazing, and she is here for him. Period. They have a great friendship. I wanted to check to see if this writer did a story about her, because I would find that fascinating too. She's an archaeologist at this time, and she has to fight all these kind of misogynistic things to just get by, and she's brilliant. So that'd be great. I would love that. I would really love that. The romance, so basically, Griffin finds this book on the dead. Okay, so the murdered son of. Okay, all right. Sorry, this is gonna be kind of weird to explain in my head. It's in my head, trying to get it out a lot. Forgive me. So, the murder that he's investigating, the murder victim sent a book that was coded to his father. The father that hired Griffin, the ex-Pinkerton, hands him over this book as a clue. It's coded, it's ciphered, he doesn't know what it is, so he goes to the museum to hire one of the best translators for that, and that is Wyborn. There's also other stuff why he picks Wyborn, but I don't want to spoil that for you, because that was pretty fun. So they go on this murder investigation together. They work together. There's traction at first sight for Wyborn, but he's fighting it because there's so much self-hatred and guilt wrapped up into his sexuality and so much fear. So he's, he's like, no, denying and everything like that. Wyborn is from a very rich family, but he completely disowned himself from them, except he visits his mother. And some of the stories he mentions about, his childhood, internally, I'm like, oh, shit, what were your siblings? Psychopaths? They were, torturing you. Anyway, obviously, I adore Wyborn. I just want to sister bear, mother bear protect him. He's very sweet. And his internal thoughts are feisty and hilarious. And as the book goes forward, and I really like this, you see more of that personality come out with Griffin. And I liked their romance quite a bit. Now, this book isn't all that long. It's about 226 pages. And what I really appreciated it is 226 pages. There was no, check out my next book and here's 20 pages from that. So this book's really only two. It's nothing like that. And I liked how it felt like a slow progression of the romance, but a good pace. But it wasn't. It just made sense. They had a mutual goal, they got to know each other's personality more, and then, they've fallen for each other. And what I like, even though Griffin is ex-Pinkerton and kind of physical badass, fighting monsters with a sword and all this stuff, he still has a lot of vulnerabilities and things that he lets Wyborn in. So I really liked it. And Wyborn is kind of depicted as a geek, a nerdy guy. He kind of made me think of Daniel Jackson from the first seasons of Stargate. Kind of like that. And then, but you also, because he's also 6'5", so he does have some physical abilities that he does bring into it later on. Now, the third conflict, I thought I knew what it was, and boy was I mistaken. Because throughout this book, there's a little bit of H.P. Lovecraft lore in there. And lately I've been seeing a little, like, here and there, but nothing really comes out of it. It's just sort of, it just felt like sprinkles on top of the sundae. It was fine. But hello, Cthulhu. You made quite an entrance. You were late to the party, but we love to see you, and this was a fun time. I did not expect that, and that was such a fun kind of turn of events that it was just great. And I don't want to say anything else, because I don't want to spoil anything else. But if you're kind of looking for something like that, and I don't even know how to describe it, MM historical Cthulhu with a happy ending, because it is a happy ending. There you go. There are 11 books in this series alone, and I think I'm going to check them out, but I'm not sure I'm going to do it right away, because 11 books is kind of a lot, and I don't want to subject you guys to 11 weeks of just like boom, 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 boom. So we'll see. I did really enjoy it, though. That was a lot of fun. So this one I gave 5 stars off of that, because just the fact that, like, they were able to do a really fantastic, with very spicy love scenes, by the way, like Cthulhu, you know, like Cthulhu, you know, cosmic horror, yet it's a romance, and it's a good romance with a good ending. I was like, what in the H.P. Lovecraft going on? This is fantastic. So there it is. I'm gonna leave that with you for that. So that has been this week. It's really been a week of like lows and then highs. I never had a reading slump before, so that was interesting. And I hope you guys don't mind me revisiting some of my favorites the holiday season. So here we go. So I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the real world. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. If you didn't, that's cool. See you later.